let's start with a quiet moment. Imagine you're focused on something simple, something you do all the time.
You're just doing something simple, right? Something you've done 1,000 times. Maybe you're jotting down a note and you write a word. A word you know as well as you know your own name.
And then you look down at it, and for just a second, it seems wrong, strange, unfamiliar. Almost like you've never, ever seen that word before in your entire life. You know, that strange, fleeting sensation, that little glitch in what's supposed to be familiar? Well, there's actually a name for that feeling. It's called Jamais Vu. It's French, and it means pretty literally never seen. And that's exactly what it is. That brief, kind of unsettling experience when something you know inside and out suddenly feels completely new. Now, you've probably heard of its famous opposite, right? Deja vu. That's when something new feels weirdly familiar. Well, jamais vu is the exact reverse. It's when something that is familiar, something you've definitely experienced before, all of a sudden feels brand new. So this feeling, it's so quick, it's so hard to pin down. But what if you could actually make it happen? In a lab? Well, believe it or not, some researchers recently tried to do exactly that. Here's what they did. They gave people a really simple, almost mindless task. They said, take this common word and just write it over and over and over again, as fast as they could. And you know what? Something pretty weird happened. About 70% of them, almost 3/4 of the people in the study, eventually just had to stop writing. And it wasn't because they were bored or their hand was cramping up. No, they stopped because that familiar word, it just suddenly became unfamiliar. They were having a full-blown Jamais Vu moment right there in the lab. So when the researchers asked them what it felt like, one person put it this way. They said the words just lose their meaning the more you look at them. Someone else talked about how it was a physical thing, the strange disconnect. They said it felt like they were losing control of their own hand, even as it was doing this simple thing. And maybe the most powerful description they got was this one. Someone said it almost feels like it's not a real word at all, but that someone has tricked you into thinking it is. Just imagine that feeling. It's such a profound feeling, isn't it? It just makes you wonder, why? Why would our brains even do that? Is there some kind of purpose to it? Well, the current thinking is that this isn't some mistake. It's not a bug in our mental software. Actually, it might be there for a very good reason. Think of jamais vu as a kind of signal from deep inside your own mind, like a quiet little alert popping up from your consciousness. And what's it telling you? It's a sign that maybe something has become too automatic, too repetitive, that you've kind of gotten lost in the loop of just doing the same thing over and over. So that feeling of unreality, it forces you to stop. It yanks you out of that loop. It's almost like your brain's way of hitting a little reset button to make you check back in with what's actually real. And of course, this doesn't just happen in a science experiment. It happens out in the world, in these quiet, everyday moments, when something you know so well suddenly becomes new again. You could be a musician who's played a piece of music for 30 years, and then one day, you look down at the score, and for just a second, the notes look like some kind of foreign language. Or imagine driving down a road you take every single day, and suddenly you might feel this wave of strangeness about the steering wheel in your hands or the pedals at your feet, so much so that you might even have to pull over just for a second to let the world feel real again. That's all it is, really. Just a brief window, a tiny little crack in the surface of what's normal. It's just a moment of unreality,
that kind of reminds you just how strange the real world can be underneath it all.
And then, just as quickly as it came, the feeling passes. The word on the page becomes just a word again. The notes on the sheet become music. The familiar is familiar once more. And all you're left with is this quiet little memory of that one moment when it wasn't.